Hello, and welcome to my new lesson, Intelligence and What Does It Mean to Be Smart? Here is the question for you. What is intelligence? Or what does it mean to be smart? Well, if you would like to spark a good debate, then go ahead and ask people this question. Most likely people will tell you, hey, intelligence or smart or being smart applies to someone who is getting straight A's or to the people who are highly educated. A lot of times when I ask my students to name someone who is smart, I always hear one word or one name, maybe I should say, and that is Albert Einstein. But you know, if you argue or talk about Albert Einstein and his intelligence, then you might argue and say that in the terms of math and science, he was a very intelligent person and very smart. However, in real life, people say that Einstein was a little disorganized. Okay, so someone might say, well, he was not fully intelligent. Okay, he was very intelligent when it comes to math and science, but in real life, he was, a little limited. Now, on the other hand, you can speak about Mike Tyson. Okay, Mike Tyson was very, very intelligent when it comes to boxing. He was one of the best boxers ever. However, again, in the real life, apparently, he spent over $30 million. He violated the law several times. He spent some time in jail. So we might say that in real life or in real world, he was not that intelligent. So again, what does it mean to be intelligent? Someone who speaks 5 languages, is he intelligent or not? Or is intelligence something that can be generalized? Or is that something that's only specific and applies to only one type of mental ability? So let's take a look at it. Intelligence can be defined as the ability to learn from one's experiences, acquire knowledge, and use resources effectively in adapting to new situations and solving problems. So that's a simple explanation of intelligence. Charles Spearmen coined the term general intelligence factor, also known as G factor. According to Spearmen, G factor is a variable that summarizes positive correlation among different cognitive tasks. So apparently, according to Charles Spearmen, there is no such a thing as one type of intelligence, but intelligence is the product of different cognitive abilities. S factor, unlike G factor, applies to high cognitive ability in one particular field. For example, musicians or artists or professional athletes, they are very intelligent and very skillful in one particular area. For example, LeBron James and Michael Jordan were very intelligent when it comes to basketball. Mike Tyson is very intelligent when it comes to boxing. Beethoven, Mozart, and other famous musicians were very intelligent when it comes to music. So we might argue that they have very strong S factor or specific intelligence. However, G factor would be the product of different, or the product of results that come from different cognitive tasks. So that's a general intelligence. Raymond Cattell was another psychologist who argued that there is a crystallized intelligence and fluid intelligence. Crystallized intelligence means book smart. Crystallized intelligence is seen among people who are very good in learning new things, who can memorize things effectively. Also, people who have very good analytical skills. And fluid intelligence or street smart applies to the people who are very good at quick problem solving and who are very creative and who can come up with different ideas and different solutions to solve different problems. Speaking about crystallized intelligence and fluid intelligence, I like to divide these two and associate them with some of my favorite TV characters. Those of you who watch Fresh Prince from Bel-Air, then you know who Will Smith is and you know who Carlton Banks is. Carlton Banks is the person that I usually associate with crystallized intelligence because Carlton is the guy who gets good grades, he knows science, scientific facts, he has good analytical skills, he read many books, he derives knowledge from books, observations, and experimentation. However, Carlton is usually a little, limited when it comes to real life problems or solving real life problems. That's where Will comes in. Will is the guy with a very strong fluid intelligence because he knows how to impress people. He's good at problem solving. He's good at management. He has very good management skills, and he easily adapts to new situations. So that's how I would describe or define crystallized intelligence and fluid intelligence. However, another explanation comes from Robert Sternberg. Robert Sternberg came up with something that we call Triarchic theory of intelligence. Sternberg argued that there are three different fields in intelligence. That would be analytical intelligence, creative intelligence, and practical intelligence. Analytical intelligence applies to academic problem solving and computation. So good high school students or good college students or college professors are usually people with strong analytical intelligence. Creative intelligence applies to imaginative and innovative problem solving. In other words, our ability to come up with new solutions or invent new ideas or new technologies. This is something that we see among scientists who always create new things. And we see practical intelligence, which means being street smart and possessing good common sense. So this is something that we all have to a certain degree. But yeah, people with a practical intelligence, they know very well how to solve problems quickly and how to adapt to new situations. Now, another very interesting definition about and explanation on intelligence comes from Howard Gardner. Here is the thing. Howard Gardner argued that our intelligence appears in different forms, and he recognized 8 different types of intelligence among humans. He called that multiple intelligence theory. According to Howard Gardner, there are 8 different types of intelligence that we see among humans, and that would be linguistic intelligence, logical mathematical intelligence, musical intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, spatial intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence, and naturalist intelligence. Linguistic intelligence is seen among people who are very good with words and who know how to use words properly. So if you would like to be a journalist, a novelist, a poet, a teacher, like especially English teacher, if you would like to be a writer, then you better have linguistic intelligence or make sure that linguistic intelligence is your strong side. However, if you enjoy writing, if you enjoy reading, if you enjoy public speaking, then most likely you already have a strong linguistic intelligence. Logical mathematical intelligence means that you are good with numbers or that you enjoy working with numbers. So if you would like to be a mathematician, accountant, a scientist, or engineer, then logical mathematical intelligence is something that you will need. Musical intelligence means that you like to work with different sounds or that you are good with sounds. So if you would like to be a composer, performer, musician, if you would like to play different instruments, or if you would like to be a music teacher, then most likely musical intelligence is something that you will need. Bodily kinesthetic intelligence is something that we see among professional athletes. People with a bodily kinesthetic intelligence are very good with, and they actually know how to control their body movements. So if you would like to be a dancer, an athlete, athletic coach, yoga instructor, or do any physical work, then most likely you have bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Spatial intelligence is the ability to perceive the relationship between objects and how they move in space. In other words, your ability to understand the space. So if you would like to be a choreographer, sculptor, architect, aviator, sailor, even artist and engineer, depending on what field of engineering you are interested in, then you must have spatial intelligence. Interpersonal intelligence is the ability to understand and be sensitive to the various emotional states of others. So if you would like to be a counselor, social worker, salesperson, teacher, politician, social worker, already said social worker, or a public speaker, then interpersonal intelligence is something that you will need to understand, or something that you will have to possess. Intrapersonal intelligence is the ability to access personal feelings and motivations and use them to direct behavior and reach personal goals. So if you would like to be a psychologist, psychiatrist, a priest, also if you would like to be a poet, then intrapersonal intelligence is something that you will need. Naturalist intelligence is a high capacity to appreciate the natural world and interact with the species within it. So if you like animals, if you like nature, if you like to be a biologist, ecologist, or environmentalist, or veterinarian, then naturalist intelligence is something that you will have to possess. Now, go over these and see if you can recognize yourself and where do you fit, or where you fit. So here's the thing. If you are a parent and if you have a child with a strong linguistic intelligence, okay, if you see that a child is good in writing, reading, then make sure that you convince this child to pursue the career in that field. Speak with a school psychologist or a school counselor and see if you can expose the child to something or to a profession that relates to linguistic intelligence. However, what I have seen a lot of times is that parents usually ignore the intelligence of their children. So sometimes you might have a child with very strong musical intelligence, but parents convince them to do something that has to do with logical mathematical intelligence. And let's say, for example, they tell them, hey, you can always play guitar, or, why don't you go ahead and study electrical engineering? That's where the money is. And then you end up with a college student who's, depressed or not so good in college because he or she is studying something that he or she is not interested in, okay, or not qualified for. I remember when I was back in high school, I had a linguistic intelligence, I would say so, because I always dreamed about being a social studies teacher. I enjoyed studying history, geography, and social studies. But since I'm very tall, people always told me that I should be an athlete. So I had to switch from linguistic intelligence to bodily kinesthetic intelligence that I definitely did not possess. So people would wonder like, hey, how come you don't play football very well? Why are you so bad on the football field? Simply because I was not interested in playing football. Hey, I could play football for fun, but that's not something that I would pursue to be my profession. So that's very important to understand. If you understand yourself, if you understand your cognitive abilities, such as your intelligence, and if you pick or choose the right field, you will definitely end up being happy for the rest of your life. And most likely, you will be good at what you are doing. However, if you graduate from school that requires strong naturalist intelligence, like if you major in biology, but hey, you like reading and writing, then most likely you will not end up being a biologist. You will probably switch your profession and become a journalist, maybe. So that's the reason why I always tell my students and the parents to study and understand Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence theory. Okay. Can intelligence be tested and measured? And can the results be compared with other results? Well, here is the thing. Alfred Binet was a French psychologist who designed one of the first IQ tests. IQ is the abbreviation, is the acronym that stands for intelligence quotient. Today, his test is known as Stanford Binet Intelligence Scale. Also, David Wechsler is worth mentioning. David Wechsler designed two different types of tests. Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale and Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children. Both of them are very good. So keep this in mind. If someone says that he or she has IQ of, let's say, 130, then your question should be, okay, according to what test? And who administrated the test? So did you get this result of this number of 130 from a reliable test, such as Wechsler test or Stanford Binet test? Or did you get it from some test from Facebook or Google that can be easily downloaded? And also, who administrated the test? Was the test administrated by a professional, like a professional psychologist or psychiatrist, or maybe some, some app maker on Facebook? So keep in mind, always question the origin of the IQ result or the IQ. Now, how do we measure IQ? The formula for IQ is this one: mental age divided by chronological age times 100. Mental age is the test score. The test score you obtain from, let's say, Stanford Binet test. Chronological age is your actual age. When we divide these two, then we'll get a decimal number. So in order to get rid of the decimal point, we'll multiply it by 100. So let me give you one example. Let's say that we work with a little kid whose name is John. And let's say that John is 12 years old. And let's say that after taking the Stanford Binet test, John gets the result or the mental age that says that he performs mentally like as someone who is 15. So 12-year-old kid who thinks and reasons as someone who is 15. So we'll take the mental age, which is the test score, divided by the actual age, which is 12, and we'll get the result 1.25 times 100 means that John has IQ of 125. Okay. Now, let's say that we have another child whose name is Mark. And let's say that now we have opposite situation. Mark is 15 years old. And after taking the IQ test, we come up to a conclusion that Mark reasons as someone who is 12. So a 15-year-old kid with mental abilities of someone who is 12. So this time we'll divide 12 by 15. The result is 0.80 times 100. IQ is 80. So what does it mean to have IQ of 125 and IQ of 80? So here's the thing. John's IQ is 125. So John would fit into this category right here. So as we can see, approximately 6.7% of people fall into this category. That means they have IQ between 120 and 130. That means that this IQ is superior. I mean, why not? A 12-year-old kid who thinks and reasons as someone who is 15. So this is superior IQ. Mark, on the other hand, has IQ of 80. So Mark will fall into this category. That's on the border between low, average, and borderline. It means that Mark is on the borderline with intellectual disability. Intellectual disability means that a person has IQ below 70. Now, another way to explain what it means to have an IQ of 125 and 80 would be by looking at this table. So John is superior, a person with superior IQ. So he falls into this category, while Mark is on the border of low, average, and borderline with intellectual disability. So intellectual disability is IQ below 70. Now, not all people with intellectual disability have the same cognitive ability. When I went to school, also, intellectual disability was known as mental retardation, but we no longer use that term. So if a person has IQ between 50 and 69, that person will be diagnosed with mild intellectual disability. 85% of cases of intellectual disability fall into this category, which means that 85% of the people with intellectual disability actually have mild intellectual disability. IQ between 35 and 49 will be moderate intellectual disability. So approximately 10% of the people with intellectual disability have moderate intellectual disability. And anything below 35 or IQ less than 35 would be severe or profound intellectual disability. 5% of cases. So people with a mild intellectual disability are usually independent. They have reasonable language skills, reasonable reading and writing skills. When it comes to ability to work, they are semi-skilled, social skills are normal, physical problems are rare, and they can pretty much live on their own. I mean, most of the people with mild intellectual disability will not even be diagnosed with mild intellectual disability at all, because they can survive on their own. However, they might struggle academically. So their academic skills might be of someone who is at the 6th grade level, or maybe higher. So now, those with moderate intellectual disability may need some help when it comes to ability to self-care. So they might be dependent. Language skills might be limited. So it means that their language skills might be very basic. So they may not understand technical terms or words that we normally see in the textbooks, like preamble in the United States Constitution. Reading and writing might be basic. So they might be able to write their first and the last name, their address, but they may not be able to understand and read the cursive writing. When it comes to ability to work, they might be unskilled and they will need supervision. Social skills, they might be moderate, okay? Physical problems sometimes might be present, and academically, they might perform at the second or the third grade level. People with a severe or profound intellectual disability usually have limited independence, so they depend on others when it comes to self-care. Language skills are basic or none. Reading skills are minimal or none. Sometimes they might be able to, write their first name and the last name, but nothing beyond that point. When it comes to ability to work, that means that they will have to be supervised, okay? Social skills are few. Physical problems are usually common. And they don't have any academic skills. So that means that they will have very difficult time understanding the concept of numbers or mathematical operations such as addition and division of the numbers. They will have very difficult time understanding figurative speech or written materials. So yeah, usually they will rely on others for help. So that's when it comes to natural intelligence that we normally see among humans. However, these days, artificial intelligence is very popular. Artificial intelligence is man-made intelligence that's normally demonstrated by machines, as opposed to natural intelligence demonstrated by humans and other animals in the animal kingdom. Now, artificial intelligence has pros and cons. The benefits of artificial intelligence are profitability. Yes, with artificial intelligence, you can create robots and machines with artificial intelligence. You can install them in the factories. They can replace workers. So they literally work for free and they can make products with a great decision and great dexterity. However, artificial intelligence has many limitations. First, robots, they lack independence. They completely depend on humans. They lack creativity. That means that they lack creative thinking skills and usually they cannot come up with new ideas and new solutions like we humans do. Artificial intelligence lacks critical thinking, which means they don't have any ability to evaluate certain things, or they might be able to evaluate certain products, but they may not be able to evaluate things and situations and humans. They lack management skills. Usually they lack emotions, and they totally depend on creators or the humans. For example, a drone can be a machine with artificial intelligence. Okay, a drone can take pictures, it can detect certain objects on the ground. Military drones, they can destroy certain targets, but they are guided by humans. Without the presence of humans, they would be useless. And also, it is worth mentioning emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to manage, perceive, understand, and use emotions properly. Usually, emotional intelligence is tested by Mayer, Salvi, Caruso emotional intelligence test. People with good emotional intelligence are able to understand someone else's emotions or their own emotions. So they know how to motivate people, or they know how to motivate themselves. They know how to express empathy properly. They know how to self-regulate. They have a good social skills, and they have a good self-awareness. Sometimes some psychologists argue that emotional intelligence is even more important than regular intelligence or natural intelligence that we see among humans and other animals. Because, if you study people, or let's say historical figures that psychologists claim to be highly intelligent, you'll see that they have a combination of both emotional intelligence and natural intelligence. Okay, When those two are combined, then we'll see that those people were able to become successful because they were able to invent the products that helped humankind greatly, or they were able to come up with new ideas and new explanations that helped us to better understand our environment and the world in which we live. Okay, I would like to end this presentation. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. And I will also greatly appreciate if you sign up or subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is free, and I promise that you will not receive any annoying notifications, or you won't see any charges on your account. Thank you very much and have a great day.